All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the first of our Camp Amikaro pre-camp meetings. We will have a second one on April 29th. So this one, we'll go over a lot of the basics of camp, answer any questions that people have, maybe before they get registered. And then the one on April 29th, we'll have a lot more details to share about what exactly check-in process will look like, um, more specifics on program details, those types of things. So I encourage you to attend that one as well. And this meeting is being recorded, so feel free to share it with any other leaders in your pack who weren't able to make it today but are interested in camp. Alrighty. So just some fun facts from last summer. We had over 1,000 campers at Amikaro over our 5 weekends. And so a ton of fun was had. We had nearly 1,000 slushies were drank from our trading post. We served over 800 hot dogs and over 750 pounds of fresh fruits and vegetables in our dining hall. We had over 1,600 s'mores roasted, over 4,500 arrows shot in their shooting sports program, and our scouts contributed over 500 hours of conservation hours. So that's a really awesome thing that we do at camp is we really like to incorporate conservation into our nature area. And we had over 6,000 feet climbed on our climbing towers. So lots of stuff to do at camp and just kind of a fun snapshot of what happened last summer. So some basics about Camp Amikaro, if you're not familiar. This summer, all of our sessions will take place at Camp Cedars, which is just outside of Fremont, Nebraska. So it's just on the south side of the Platte River there. We will have 6 sessions this summer, 3 in June and 3 in July. I don't have the specific capacities listed on this slide, but on our registration page in the details, you'll see that the capacities for each weekend are a little different. And that's because the Camp Cedars Scouts BSA resident camp will also be operating at the same camp during the weeks. So on Fridays, there will be a little bit of overlap with the troops. And on Sundays, we're pretty much done by the time they start checking in, but there might be a little bit of overlap on Sundays as well. So we just kind of took into account some of the busier weeks for the Scouts BSA camp and busier weekends for us at Camp Amikaro and tried to offset some of those numbers a little bit just to make it easier on traffic flow, those types of things, and hopefully make it a better experience for everybody. The capacities range, I think, from 200 to 300 campers a weekend. So still plenty of spots each weekend. And we're actually offering a higher capacity this summer than we have in the past. So really that's just a note. If you do have a larger pack and you're hoping to all camp the same weekend, I would go ahead and look at those numbers today on our website and really start planning and get registered soon for that weekend so you can all attend together. Unfortunately, we aren't able to really go beyond that capacity. We can accommodate a few extra people here and there, but we do have to cut it off at some point just to make sure we can have a great experience for everyone. Our price for camp this summer. So if you register before March 9th, which is our early bird deadline, the cost for youth is $125. And after that day, it goes up to $140. And our adults are $75. There are quite a few discounts there that can be stacked on top of each other. So $10 off per scout if they sold popcorn in the fall or camp cards this spring. And then $10 off per scout and adult if you contribute to your unit's ICC for this year. And then $10 off for any adult who's trained in their primary position. So you can add those up, and especially if you register before the early bird deadline, can save quite a bit on camp. So I'd encourage you to, if you haven't already gotten your weekend locked in, start talking with your packs, figure that out, and get registered before March 9th. Some details, basic details about our program. Our day-to-day kind of schedule will run very similar to how it has the past few years. Our dens or packs will travel throughout camp to all the different areas together. So if you have a really large pack, we might have to split you up just depending on the number you bring so that our class sizes can be manageable. And if you come with just your, a parent and scout, then we'll group you up with other smaller groups so you can have more fun. And overall, this has been a really popular switch that we made a few years back. It's really great for parents that have multiple kids in the program. So you're not running all over camp, trying to see everything that happens, and the packs can really bond together, and it's a great time to all go together. All of our activities and classes are led by our trained camp staff, and we do our best to tie it into the Cub Adventures for the different ranks. Not every area is going to have an adventure that can be checked off. Like climbing, for example, there's no adventures for Cubs that relate to climbing, but it's still a great experience for them to challenge themselves. And even if they're afraid of heights, our staff are great at, can they get up a couple of rocks and come back down to help them get over that fear. We try to incorporate the adventures that aren't as easy to earn throughout the normal program year, things like aquatics, the different shooting sports awards that they can earn. That way we're not, doing something that you've already done or plan to do in your normal calendar year at camp. All of our programs will be open during free time. So we'll have a free time each day on Saturday and Sunday. And so throughout the weekend, all the program areas will be open for free time, but not every day. So I'll talk about that a little bit later on, but we'll have specific areas open during free time. And then in the evenings, we have programs like campfires, flag retirement ceremonies, a night sky viewing, depending on the weather, and a Scouts own service as well. So the days can be pretty packed and busy, but we like to tire them out. So by the time they get in the car on Sunday, hopefully they're sleeping before you hit the highway. Here is an example of what our schedule looks like. So on the left, that is the schedule for the whole weekend. Check-in will start a little earlier this year. It'll start at 2:00. And when you get there, you'll have a few things that you can do. Dinner will be at 6:00, and then we'll kind of go throughout the weekend. You'll have 7 different class periods that you'll go to throughout Saturday and Sunday. So you can kind of see there on the left just what the normal schedule looks like. On the right, you'll also get a pack rotation schedule that will show you exactly what classes you're taking at what time. And we try to make the rotation as best we can that you're not walking back and forth all over camp. So we'll kind of make it geographically flow as best we can for you. Every group is probably going to have one longer walk throughout their weekend. That's just kind of inevitable. But for example, you might start Saturday morning at shooting sports and then go to nature and then fishing. Lunch will be at noon. And then after lunch, you might go to STEM and then climbing. We did add in an afternoon break time after our 5th period before free time. So this is just a great chance for you to meet back up in your campsite with your pack or visit the trading post or maybe even catch a quick nap if you're feeling a little tired. And it also gives our staff a break from their busy day too to regroup and have those free time program activities set up and as best they can be for you all. So you can see there just those free time activities aren't set in stone. That was just an example. We might have to do some switching up, but Saturday might have swimming, climbing, games, and STEM open. So those are your options for free time, and that will be communicated on the paperwork that you get when you check in, what those free time activities are for each day. I will say that it's important to pay attention during our flag announcements that we have, because we might change things up a little bit if we know we're expecting, weather on Saturday afternoon. We might switch swimming and climbing to Sunday and have more, nature, STEM games, activities that aren't affected by the weather during that time. So just keep in mind that that is a little flexible, but we'll communicate that throughout the weekend if we expect anything to change. And then on Sunday, you'd have your other two program areas in the morning. So you might have swimming and games. And then again, our free time before lunch would be dependent on which areas are open. We will do aquanaut, at least planning to otherwise, on Sunday morning for Webelos and AOLs to complete that aquanaut. So the swimming on Sunday wouldn't be open for free time for everyone, but just those scouts to complete that aquanaut pin or adventure. So some highlights for each of the program areas. Aquatics this summer will be doing swimming at the pool and just fishing at the lake. So we got some really valuable feedback last summer from our evaluations that boating was kind of difficult for a lot of our Cub Scouts because they might not have gotten Blue Swimmer, or the parents didn't take a swim test, and so they get to the boating class and find out they can't go in a boat. And it was just really difficult to offer the best teaching in the short amount of time for a boating experience to be a positive one for people that had never been in a boat. So we're this summer going to try out just fishing during that time period for that class. And there's actually a lot more adventures that have fishing requirements than boating ones. So hopefully it'll help your scouts complete some of those adventures at camp. Our scouts will have a chance to make their own fishing pole out of some materials and try and catch a fish with it. We also have plenty of fishing gear for them to use as well. Boating will be open during free time for people that want to go try that out. So hopefully that will be a good switch, but we'll definitely be wanting feedback on how that goes after you experience it. In our shooting sports area, we have BB guns and archery. In nature, we have hiking. They do some sort of hands-on conservation activity every year. And then our nature center is just filled with different critters and exploration type things that they can do and see kind of as a nice nature center. In STEM, we have different experiments and some pretty basic exploration of STEM concepts. We try to still make it educational, but obviously it's camp and we have a short amount of time, so we're not going to do anything too crazy that's way over their heads, but still some good basic concepts. And then there's often opportunities to earn parts of different NOVA awards as well in our STEM area. Our climbing wall, again, there aren't any adventures tied to it, but it's just a fun experience for all of our Cubs. Everyone can climb, and then Webelos and AOL will have the option to rappel back down if they want to. And then in our games area, we'll have the Gaga ball pits, different field games, challenge and teamwork type games as well. Our Webelos Outback and Arrow of Light Adventure program are an optional program that your older scouts can register for during that registration process. You have to do it before you get to camp. Most of the time the program does fill up, so I encourage you to register for that early if that's something that your den is wanting to do. We do have a capacity of 50 scouts for that program for each session, just so that we can make sure our staff are able to handle the group and the scouts in that program really have the best program available to them. Through that program, they'll work on specific Webelos and AOL adventures. It's the other areas, if they choose to not do the specific Webelos and AOL program, they just rotate with the rest of their group during the weekend. we'll likely still be able to accomplish some adventures. The Weebles and AOL adventures are just a little more in depth. So they might not get everything that they would in the Weebles and AOL program. There is an optional overnight outpost as well on Saturday night. If they want to do that, they can. And then the program does take place on Saturday and Sunday. So they would be basically all those 7 class periods, they would be with the Webelos and AOL group. But then they can join your pack back up for free time on both days. And if they want to do the Aquanaut on Sunday, they can, or they could go to shooting sports or climbing or whatever else is open that day. So like I said, definitely communicate with your den or the rest of your pack if this is something your older scouts are interested in, because it typically does fill up every weekend. So at camp, we have 2 different kind of camping options. So you can either bring your personal tents, or you can stay in canvas tents that we have. And if you're not familiar, there's a picture there of basically what they all look like. The canvas goes around the frame, and typically people will bring a cot to sleep on rather than just on the platform. So it's totally up to you what you want to do. We do recommend that everyone in the unit select the same option when registering. So if you're doing individual family registrations, good to communicate that before people go in and register. It just not all of our canvas campsites have a ton of flat ground for personal tents. So we try to keep our packs grouped together as much as possible. But it might not be the best sleeping if you're in a personal tent kind of on a hillside with the other canvas tents. So that's why we recommend everyone to pick the same option. It just makes it a little easier when we go to assign those campsites. And then when you register, you will be asked to kind of give your best estimate on the number of tents that you're bringing or that you're going to be needing. In these canvas tents, you might be able to fit an adult and 2 younger Cub Scouts. Typically, they sleep 2 adults or 2 older, Scouts BSA youth, but you might be able to squeeze them in there. So it's up to you guys if you want to try that. But that just helps us know, you're bringing 10 personal tents or you need 10 canvas tents when we go to assign the different campsites. The canvas tents, the size, I'll have to double check. I want to say they're 10 by 12, but don't quote me on that. I will find that out for you, Dane, and I'll send you a message on the size of those. And I'll also add that to the leader's guide and on the registration. So when you guys go in to do that, you can see what the size is. So where are you going to be camping at camp? We have a couple different spots. So you can see the kind of green and blue tents I have down there. Oh, that's along Lakefront Road. And so the 2 green sites are a little hillier and not super great for personal tents. So if your whole unit selects canvas tents, we would try to put you in those sites. And then the blue ones have a little bit more flat ground to where you could put some personal tents around there. So if you have a mixed group, we would try and put you in those sites. And then the 2 red tents at the top are where we're going to be putting the majority of our personal tent campsites. So if you're familiar with camp, that red tent kind of on the upper left is that open field just off the dining hall and that road. So that's a new area for us this summer we're going to try out. And then the tent on the upper right is where the old shower house used to be. We're clearing out that space, so it'll be a nice big flat space for personal tents right off of that new central shower house as well. Those are going to be our primary camping spots. We might have to get flexible and do some other areas depending on the size of the weekend and the combination of personal tents to canvas tents, but we're going to do our best to keep everybody very centrally located, so you're not way off on your own out there, camping away from where everything else is going to be at. And then we will communicate where you're camping. Um, Hopefully sometime that week before your camp session starts. It'll definitely be some communication between our leadership team and the troops that are going to be at camp that week on if they're leaving Friday night, or what spaces are open. So bear with us a little bit on that communication, but for sure by the time you check in, we'll know exactly where you're going and we can help you get there. So that check-in process on Friday, we strongly recommend that the units arrive at or around the same time if possible. Just makes your check-in experience a lot easier for you and the rest of your pack. We know people might be taking off a half day of work or the full day or driving longer distances, so that might not always be possible, but we do recommend it if it is possible. Just a reminder that everyone needs their own health forms on hand to turn in during check-in. That way our medic can review them. If you have any medication that she has questions about or needs to collect, she can do that at that time or go over any of your health history. Make sure that your families and the rest of your pack are filling out individual health forms for the adults and the youth. We've seen a lot that the parent will put, their name / the kid's name, everything on the same health form. They do have to be separate health forms. That way we can keep track of whose is what information. And so if they do that, we'll have them fill out new health forms, and it'll just save them time if they have it before they come to camp all filled out. And then when you get to camp, there's a few things you'll need to do in no particular order. Swim checks, picking up your patches and t-shirts at the trading post, and setting up your campsite. In the past, we've had check-in kind of along the road when you're getting to camp. I'm not sure if we'll do that the same way this year. We're still ironing out some details with the Camp Cedars process and what's going to be happening for the Scouts BSA camp at the same time. So it might look a little bit different than it has in the past years, but we will for sure be able to communicate that at the April meeting, if not sooner. And then, of course, leading up to your week at camp, there'll be communication about exactly what you need to do when you get to camp and where to go and what you'll need and all that stuff. Some important changes for this summer from the past, or just important things to know if you haven't ever been to camp. We will have equestrian open during free time, either on Saturday or Sunday. I'm not sure yet on that, but the scouts will be able to, either pet the horses or feed them maybe some carrots and apples, or they can get on the horse and ride around the arena. We won't be doing any long trail rides, but it'll just be a fun experience if they've never interacted with horses before. But any scout or adult that is wanting to get on a horse will need to sign a waiver. So we'll have those online for anyone that, older scouts that might not be coming with their parents, or anyone that wants to fill it out beforehand. And then we'll have some on site too, but the parent will need to sign that waiver. So keep that in mind as you're looking at what leaders are coming to camp with what scouts, if that needs to be signed beforehand. And that can just be turned in during check-in or when you go up to that equestrian area to that staff. Open concept for breakfast and lunch. So we did that last year, but I don't think it was communicated very well to everyone, but breakfast will kind of be an open period. So you can come when you want. If you need to, get ready for the day and then come to breakfast, or you want to come to breakfast first and then go get ready, it's up to you. And then lunch will be similar from that time period where you can kind of come and go. Still only taking one trip, of course, through the hot food line so we can make sure we have enough food for everyone, but that will just kind of help our dining hall flow a little bit better throughout those meals. And then dinner will be all together. So we'll have flags in the evening and then dinner to follow with everyone all at once. Like I mentioned, the free time offerings will be a little bit different each day. So we won't have every area open for both free times, and that will be communicated which areas are open. And then our medication record keeping. This is a new process for us as a council for all of our summer camps. We'll have two new forms. One is the prescription medication record, and that is for any individuals who are taking prescription medication that the medic will need to administer. So, like your Schedule 2 medications. And so that form will be filled out. You can fill it out before you get to camp or when you arrive, but it's basically listing the medication, the dosage, and then the times that you take it when you're at camp. And that really helps our medic know if she does have to treat you, that if you have taken that medication or not for that day, how long it's been. That information can be really important for her to know in order to treat you. So we will be having that form. And then there will be a unit medication record. And so that will be for any medications that are not given by the medic. So that's, your Tylenol or your Claritin or Benadryl, those types of things. And again, if you've taken that medication and have to be seen by the medic, it's very important for them to know that in a lot of instances. So that process, like I said, is new, so we're still working out some of the kinks in it. The paperwork will be available online before camp for you to fill out prior, and then we'll have copies as well at camp if you don't bring it with you. And then those forms will be turned in before you check out on Sunday and then kept in our records just for our record keeping policies. All right, so at gocubcamping.org, we have a lot of resources available. We have our leader's guide that is published. We're continuing to update it a little bit here and there, but the most up-to-date version is online. We have different promotional materials that you can use to promote camp to your dens and packs. We'll have all those waivers and important documents listed there as well. And of course, the registration link for camp. So we're really excited to see everybody at camp this summer. If there's any questions at this time, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, that is our meeting. And if you think of things, you can always email me or give me a call and I'd be happy to answer them. So I have a question. Is a scout crossing over this year to a troop able to attend with younger cub brother and dad? So no, we are not. We only allow registered Cub Scouts to attend camp. Amikaro, the scouts who are in the troop would attend Camp Cedars with their troop. All right. Any other questions? Okay. If a pack is doing individual registrations but want to be placed together, how does that work? Great question. So packs that do individual registrations, I pull the registration and then sort by pack. And so you have 15 different registrations, they all come together and I can see exactly how many people and what different tenting options they picked. And so I'll group all of those different registrations together when I assign the campsites and the rotations and group schedule. So it's totally okay if you want to have people register individually. I'll do all the hard work on my end for you guys to make it all happen. If you do want to register all as one group, there is a parent portal option. So you can do the registration and then send parents a link to pay individually as well. So if that's something you want to do, that is set up. And if you have questions about it, I can help you, or even Scouter Services knows that process really well and can help with any of those questions. All right, well, I will hang out for a few more minutes if there's any other questions people have, but um, for now, we are good to go. I will post this video online and I'll send it out to everyone in this meeting as well through our registration emails. So thank you all for joining us this morning and looking forward to seeing everybody out at camp this summer.